Train up a child in the way he should go. Even when he is old, he will not depart from it. Proverbs chapter 22, verse 6. This is Lailani Aribuya. I am with Wency Combis, Leslie Obias, and Jinky Capos. We are the Grinders, and welcome to our presentation about social development and educational psychology.
Get the banana. Come on, jump.
Social development is the process through which children learn about their society and the proper ways to act within it. It is a process through which behaviors, perspectives, and attitudes are learned.
One more, jump. Jump. Yes. Yes.
For example, consider a child watching their sibling attempting to put a screw in a wall. The sibling cannot do it alone, so they ask a parent for help. With the parent's assistance, the sibling is able to affix the object to the wall. Thus, the observing child learns that while they are not able to screw things in by themselves, they can do it with assistance.
Come on, jump.
Wow! How about this one? This one? Da!
The process of social development does not stop after childhood. In fact, it occurs continuously through all stages of life.
What letter is that? Yes. Letter L.
Social development is made further complex as individuals learn that certain behaviors are expected in some circumstances or settings,
How about that
but
one?
not allowed or possible in others. For this reason, social development is extremely important to study and understand in order to successfully navigate social situations.
How about that? I. I is for iguana. How about
Let's begin with social development theory. There are several theories of social development. Significant theories include attachment theory, Vygotskys Theory, Piaget's theory, psychoanalytical theory, and social learning theory. Number 1 is Vygotskys Theory of social development.
Social development theory began with a man named Lev Vygotsky, a scientist in the Soviet Union. He developed a model on a social development that continues to be widely used. His theory of social development states that children and individuals develop their behaviors and habits based on the actions of their peers and those whom they see as authority figures. Through these interactions, they develop a mental framework of things that they can do, things they can only do with help, and things they cannot do under any circumstances. They also develop a zone of proximal development, which are certain behaviors and actions that they can work on to eventually be able to complete autonomously.
The key aspects of this model of social development are that children recognize the things they are able to do on their own, the things that adults will be able to help them do, and the things that they will not be able to do at the moment, even with help. They also recognized a limited extent the types of progress they can achieve in the zone of proximal development.
Number 2, attachment theory. Attachment theory focuses on relationships and bonds between people, including those between a parent and a child and between romantic partners. British psychologist John Bowlby was the first attachment theorist. He described attachment as a lasting psychological connectedness between human beings. Bowlby was interested in understanding the anxiety and distress that the children experience when separated from their primary caregivers. Attachment is an emotional bond with another person. Bowlby believed that the earliest bonds formed by children with their caregivers have a tremendous impact that continues throughout life. He suggested that attachment also serves to keep the infant, thus improving the child's chances of survival.
Number 3. Piaget's Theory of Social Development. Jean Piaget was a biologist who originally studied but moved into the study of the development of children's understanding through observing them and talking and listening to them while they work on exercises he said. His view of how children's minds work and develop has been enormously influential, particularly in educational theory. His particular insight was the role of maturation in children's increasing capacity to understand the world. They cannot undertake certain tasks until they are psychologically mature enough to do so. His research has spawned a great deal more, much of which has undermined the detail of his own. But like many other original investigators, his importance comes from his overall vision. He proposed that children's thinking does not develop entirely smoothly. Instead, there are certain points at which it takes off and moves into completely new areas and capabilities. He saw that these transitions as taking place at about 18 months, 7 years, and 11 or 12 years. This has been taken to mean that before these ages children are not capable, no matter how bright, of understanding things in certain ways, and has been used as the basis for scheduling the school curriculum. Whether or not should be the case is a different matter.
Psychoanalytic theory. The psychoanalytic theory is the personality theory, which is based on the notion that an individual gets motivated more by unseen forces that are controlled by the conscious and the rational thought. Psychoanalytic theories explain human behavior in terms of the interactions of various components of personality. Sigmund Freud was the founder of the school of thought. Freud drew on the physics of his day to coin the term of psychodynamics. Based on the idea of converting heat into mechanical energy, he proposed psychic energy could be converted into behavior. Freud's theory places central importance of dynamic, unconscious, psychological conflicts. Freud divided human personality into 3 significant components: the ID, ego, and superego. Number 5 is social learning theory. Social learning theory proposed by Albert Bandura emphasizes the importance of observing, modeling, and imitating the behaviors, attitudes, and emotional reactions of others. Social learning theory considers how both environmental and cognitive factors interact to influence human learning and behavior. Social learning theory suggests that social behavior is learned by observing and imitating the behaviors of others. And the social learning theory has 4 mediational processes that help determine whether a new behavior is acquired. Number 1, attention, the degree to which we notice the behavior. A behavior must grab our attention before it can be imitated. Considering the number of behaviors we observe and do not imitate daily indicates attention is crucial in whether a behavior influences imitation. Number 2, retention. How well we remember the behavior. We cannot perform the behavior if we do not remember the behavior. So, while a behavior may be noticed unless a memory is formed, the observer will not perform the behavior. And because social learning is not immediate, retention is vital to behavior modeling. Number 3, reproduction, the ability to perform the behavior. This is the ability to reproduce a behavior we observe. It influences our decision about whether to try performing the behavior. Even when we wish to imitate an observer behavior, we are limited by our physical abilities. Number 4, Motivation, the will to emulate the behavior. This mediational process is referred to as vicarious reinforcement. It involves learning through observing the consequences of actions for other people, rather than through direct experience.
The importance of social and emotional development in students. As academics and testing become a larger part of children's lives, social and emotional learning has been put on the back burner, and teachers are seeing the ill effects of this change in their classrooms, on playgrounds, and during specials or lunchtime. More and more, teachers are using class time to promote social and emotional development. Studies show that social competence helps a child gain more than academic competence. Children who are socially competent are better adjusted and able to accept diversity, change, and new forms of learning.
5 goals for social competence. The collaborative for academic, social, and emotional learning found that there are 5 achievable social and emotional development goals for students. First, self-awareness, the ability to reflect on one's own feelings and thoughts. Second, self-control, the ability to control one's thoughts and behavior. Third, social awareness, the ability to empathize, recognize social cues, and be adaptable. Fourth, relationship skills, the ability to communicate, make friends, manage disagreements, recognize peer pressures, and cooperate. Last, responsible decision making, the ability to make healthy choices about one's own behavior while weighing consequences for others.
Department of Education, through K-12 basic education curriculum, put emphasis on social-emotional development. Quote, Republic Act 10157, or the Kindergarten Education Act, made kindergarten the compulsory and mandatory entry stage to basic education. Section 2 of this act provides that all 5-year-old children shall be given equal opportunities for kindergarten education to effectively promote their physical, social, emotional, and intellectual development, including values formation, so they will be ready for school. The Department of Education believes that kindergarten is the transition period from informal to formal literacy, grade 1 to 12. Considering that age 5 is within the critical years in which positive experiences must be nurtured to a certain school readiness. Extensive research has shown that this is the period of the greatest growth and development, during which the brain continuously develops most rapidly and almost at its fullest. It is also the stage when self-esteem, vision of the world, moral foundations are established, and their mind's absorptive capacity for learning is at its sharpest. Teachers, parents, caregivers, adults should therefore be guided to facilitate explorations of our young learners in engaging, creative, and child-centered curriculum that is developmentally appropriate and which immerses them in meaningful experiences. Provision of varied play-based activities leads them to becoming emergent literates and helps them to naturally acquire the competences to develop holistically. They are able to understand the world by exploring their environment, as they are encouraged to create and discover, which eventually leads them to becoming willing risk takers and ready to tackle formal schoolwork.
In the depth its developmental domain, which is stated in basic education curriculum, socio-emotional development is the very first on the list, wherein social-emotional development o pagpapaunlad ng socio-emotional at kakayahang makipamuhay, children are expected to develop emotional skills, basic concepts pertaining to her himself, how to relate well with other people in his/her immediate environment. Thank you so much for learning with us. This has been our presentation about social development in educational psychology. Again, my name is Leilani Airibuya with Wency Combis, Leslie Ubias, and Jinky Capos, and we are the Grinders. Leaving you with words of Mahatma Gandhi, the best way to find yourself is to lose yourself in the service of others.